All right, welcome back to another episode of Out of Bounds on the Boom Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today got to talk about Shannon Sharpe. I ain't even calling him Unc no more, no, but Unc Shay, whatever you want to call it. We got a sticky situation, everybody, and this is obviously not the first time that I've talked about these types of things. So for people that are new, we've discussed these things many a time now. Unfortunately, I just want to get the people out of here right away. This is not me being a stand for shade. This is not me talking about the black man and the white one. Like we're going to address the aspects of it in its entirety, but this is not me being a cheerleader. That's not what I do. So if that's what you came here for, if you came here to feel vindicated and have somebody on your side, just leave right now. I'm gonna tell you that. So right off rip, whenever any of this happens, there's two things to keep in mind for me. Number one, we wait for the facts. Facts. I don't want to say that because that people try to use that to dismiss things. We wait for the trial where we can see what can actually be produced, if there is one. And then number two, we take the victim's complaint seriously, and that's probably a big piece of what we talk about. And this isn't a gender thing. I'm sure some people would love to make it that, but that's not what it is at all. As I said, it's the victim, whatever it might be. And this isn't a believe all anything. This is, we take the thing seriously, because the number one thing that people are going to do, especially, not only now, this used to be kind of more of a law thing, but now this is standard American culture with Trump and everything. The first thing you're going to try to do is delegitimize the person that is making the accusation. Instead of addressing the accusations, you want to try to do whatever you can to say this person shouldn't be trusted, or why this person is full of it, whatever. And that's not what we know. We're not doing that over here. We definitely not doing that. We'll take it all into consideration. So I don't want to recap. I don't like doing that with any situation, the movies and stuff. I guess some people might not know, so I guess I should. But just in a nutshell, I think it's pretty short and simple to say that there's a person who had, and I won't even say allegedly, this is pretty confirmed, she had a relationship with Shannon Sharpe. Now, whether it was romantic, Facebook official, titles, that don't really matter. There's somebody that was intimate, frequently times with Shannon, and that they clearly spent time together and all those different things. And so she's suing him, basically alleging that he sexually assaulted and raped her on several occasions, and that's really the crux of it. But of course, what you do in law is you add the other stuff, the emotional distress, the manipulation, all those different things, the coercion. And I don't mean add it as in it's false, but you want to paint the full picture. And so all the things under the umbrella that comes with rape. And so, or at least in the domestic rape, we ain't talking about like a random person. So all those things is what she is alleging. And yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell as far as what the story is. Now, Shannon's side has since came out. Obviously they denied it, said we're gonna fight this. I've never seen any of these in celebrity culture where they come out and be like, yeah, I did that, I was wrong. No, they always say I didn't do that. And we've seen times where we find out that was mostly true. We've seen times where we found out that was completely a lie. Like but at the end of the day, they gonna say, well, I'm innocent. So, but not only did they do that, they took the step of releasing text message, and they released her name. The suit was filed under her anonymously, anonymous. Oh my God, under Jane Doe's alias, and they released her name. And we'll get into kind of my thought process about all these things, but that's what happened. And so they set up this idea, not this idea, they wanted to set the stage to say that this was a consensual relationship, like that they obviously, it was a sexual relationship, but it was consensual. So they released those texts to show the things that she was saying and how she initiated things, but also to show that she was into things that was more taboo. Really, that don't really matter whether people think is taboo or not, but she was into things that was more physical and rough, and so they wanted to set that precedence as well. And so that's what they did. Apparently there was a 30-second audio that got released. I haven't heard that, but I saw, so I forgot to say, let me back up. I saw this stuff, like, as much as I could throughout work, and then I went to the movies right after work, and then I came home, so I'm here now. So, and I took a second to look through, so if there's anything new, like at the time of this recording, I didn't see it, I'll address it then. But as of right now, Shannon had released a video basically trying to jump ahead, clearly written by his whole team, like he's reading off the screen and stuff, but he's telling you, hey, there's a video that's probably gonna get released, letting y'all know now, blah blah blah. So he was trying to jump ahead of that. And then I saw that there was a 30-second audio released. I don't know if that's been shared around or what, but obviously they're all trying to release their things to kind of set up their story. So one thing I want to do get clear before I go forward. First, I think Shannon's side is pretty clear. They haven't said a whole lot. It boils down to it was consensual, whatever they did. Like, yes, it happened. Yes, they did things. Yes, it's his personal business getting out there, but everything he did was consensual. No assault, no manipulation, whatever. And they 100% say that this was a setup. And now they're saying that it was a setup from the beginning, which, when I believe, I don't remember the year, but we're talking about like 2-3 years ago. So he's saying it was a setup from the beginning, and that this was all orchestrated. I cannot talk tonight. This was all put together to take Shannon down and get a money grab. So that's what they saying. And I say their side. Like, I mean, if people don't know how this works, Shannon ain't just out here talking for himself. His lawyers, his PR team, everybody gets together and they talk about the plan. And so that's what their version is. On the other side, obviously we heard the rape and sexual assault. She basically said that, like I said, the small things about being very like controlling and possessive, blah, blah, blah. And she also mentioned being recorded during sex, and that she knows that it was shown to other people without her permission, and she didn't know she was getting recorded. All that is just to set up, the whole character of the relationship. But she does say that once the whole Instagram live thing happened with Shannon and Mom Michelle, that's when things went south, because she felt that they were exclusive. And I've seen many articles who write the same information in different ways, so I don't know because I don't have the legal documents, so I don't know exactly how it was said. So I don't know if she believed that they were exclusive or if she said that he actually said that and confirmed that. I don't know. Either way, she was upset because she thought they was exclusive. And so they had a confrontation about it. And that's when she said she pretty much like things fell apart and she kind of drifted away from him. She stopped following all his orders and all that. And that he continued to pursue her despite that. So that's kind of what she said, or what her side is saying. That was the thing that sparked it, and that during some of their last encounters, that he had did things against her will. There you go. So, and there's little bits and pieces in between that I'll probably touch on, but that's generally what the two sides are. So, my thoughts. I think it is extremely important to understand fundamentally what we're talking about with sexual assault and sexual harassment. And I have so much experience with this type of training, with these type of situations, all that just comes from the work that I've done, the professions I've been in. I've been in education. There's nothing but sexual assault and DCFS, or at least here in Illinois, like there's DCFS training that you got to do every year. There's all types of things. So I've been doing this training for a long time. I done been in these situations as a professional, as a young professional, when I was a resident assistant in college and having to deal with those things. And we had to be trained every year too as an RA. So I've been going through these trainings for a long time. I done been through these scenarios so many times, and the average person just does not like really get it. And so I think it is very important to restate that just because you are in a consensual relationship, I'm talking relationship, let alone if it's just somebody you hooking up, that's a friends with benefit or a booty call, whatever, it don't matter. As they say, no means no. And so even married, there's marital rape, all these concepts that some people might not understand because of just what you've been taught, but some things are also just social norms, and so some people just don't get it. But we need to lay that foundation right now, that dismissing anything because you were already having consensual sex does not, that's absolutely incorrect and erroneous. You cannot sit here and say, oh, he, whoever, they let me have sex with them 5 straight days, and on the 6th day they said no, we still did it, and now they claiming they didn't want to do it, or that they said they didn't want to do it, whatever they claim, whatever. Like if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. It doesn't matter. Now, we also need to establish that this is a very subjective and internal experience. Short of any, obviously, verbal, not when you say verbal, but short of any audio visual or signed contract, which is less likely, but short of anything tangible like that, it is very hard to prove when you say I didn't want to do it. And that rides the same line as racial discrimination, or really any discrimination. And we're talking legal here. It's just extremely hard to prove. If somebody, and I've been through this too many times, but I'm sure people understand too. If somebody says, hey, you as a worker, we don't think you're doing a good job, or we don't feel like you've been fitting in, or whatever, and they decide to fire you, you could feel like you might even have a little bit of evidence that, oh, they only did that because I'm black, or I'm this, or I'm that. But it is so hard to prove what somebody is thinking. And that's why that stuff is hard to do. That's the same thing that goes when we're talking about sexual assault and all these things. Now there's some clear lines of if the person's intoxicated, whatever, they can't give consent, all those things. But for the most part, if y'all both consent and then have sex, there's going to be some people that feel like, okay, that can be, at any point, it could be considered assault. And someone will tell you that, or somebody will tell anybody, if at any point you feel like it's a no, and we talking about not just feeling it, you say it. You say, I'm not comfortable with this. Can we stop? Now, you can't be like, oh, we was going at it for 30 minutes, like, and then you just said stop. Whenever it's over, it's over. No means no. Now, even if you said that, again, hard to prove that you said that. And so we're talking about an extremely subjective thing. Now, I bring up both of those things because it's important to understand that you cannot use the grayness of both sides of this to swing it one way or the other. You can't sit here and say that at any point, if I feel uncomfortable or that I don't want to do this anymore, it's sexual assault. So no matter what you say or what you understood, I'm saying you raped me. You can't do that. You also can't say, oh, well, we can't really prove they felt that way, so we're going to dismiss that they actually felt uncomfortable and it's not sexual assault. We can't do that either way. And a lot of times this comes down to patterns. I could tell you for every situation I've been in, and I'm not saying that there's not different ones, but every single one that I've been in since I was 19, it has always been repetitive behavior. It has never been no one time somebody runs up on you, rape you, and run away. Now, obviously, I ain't a cop. Those things happen again. And really, that doesn't matter because in this situation, we're talking about an ongoing relationship. And so it's always been a relationship that I've encountered. And so what that means is there's consistency, there's frequency. And some people, again, like to turn that in and of itself to be evidence that it's okay. No, it does not mean that. Whether you marry, dating, whatever, it does not mean just because it's frequent that it's okay. So there's that. The other thing we got to lay out, because this is the first thing everybody's saying. Oh, it's the money, the contract. First of all, I didn't see nothing about the contract. I follow Nightcap. I don't watch it every night, but I watch Nightcap. I saw Nightcap live in New Orleans. I met Shannon 2 months ago. Like, and that's weird in itself, but still, like, just like we can't sit. I ain't know nothing about the contract. And you talking about a fan. But either way, that doesn't matter because the narrative quickly became, okay, she heard about the contract. Now all of a sudden she's suing. My good people, that is not how the legal system works. Like and we've already got the confirmation. Plus it's just common knowledge. But we got the confirmation from both sides. They've been in talks since February, and as much as I believe the contract got brought up recently this weekend or something like that, I don't know, but they've been in talks since February. And no, I don't want to hear she knew about the contract. No, they came to them. First of all, what gets me in these situations is almost every time they go to the people first. They don't just sue. They go to you first and say, okay, let's, talk about this. Now, some people will take that as that means you're guilty. Why didn't you just sue? Because you're trying to settle out of court. I mean, either way, whether you're in court or not, it's civil. You getting money. That's what you're suing for. So it doesn't matter whether you get money in a settlement or you get money in court. That doesn't change anything. But my point is, people have a chance to like really deal with it. And sometimes you get people that try to settle out, or what happens is you get people that try to settle, but then they want to add stipulations. You got to sign an NDA. You can't ever talk about this. So you got to give me the evidence, burn it. And people don't want to do that. Then you get some people that's like, I absolutely didn't do this. I don't care what you say. I'm innocent. Let's go to court. And then they end up being guilty or some type of guilt. And that's because they didn't believe that they could be touched. And so anyway, they were talking since February and brought this to Shannon's team. And this is just anyway, my point is that the idea that they heard about the contract, turned around and sued, made up a story, false. Completely false. That's confirmed by both sides. And again, as I said, confirmed by the Shannon side. He knows her. They did these things. Like, it ain't no question. So there's all of that. So I just want to lay that groundwork. We're not going into none of those things. The other thing that I would also say, and I've talked about this too, because I would 100% say I'm a sex positive person, kink positive person. Because someone is into something that is taboo, so if you want to call it kinky, whatever you want to call it, that is not an admission of guilt. We're not doing that either. We're not going to sit here and say, oh, because she liked to do this or he likes to do this, that clearly shows that, this was okay. It's no different than it is with just regular sex. It's consent. Even if you signed up to like, hey, let's do this, and then it goes too far and you say, hey, no, let's stop. That's it. That's how that goes. And so we're not going to use that as an excuse. We're not using no blanket excuse to dismiss. We're not going to sit here and say she's white, part white. She's not black. He's a black man. So automatically that means she was trying to trap him. We're not doing any of that. Even the text. I know the text is wild. I get that. But as I said, that we are going to take the allegations seriously. You could be married in a loving marriage, does not mean somebody can't be assaulted or raped. You can be a big time celebrity and meet a OnlyFans model or whatever, and that doesn't mean that it's impossible that you assaulted somebody. Like, those are not qualifiers to dismiss things. That's context, and we'll talk about that as I wrap up, but that is not a grounds to dismiss things. And so I just want to lay that all out before we go forward. So with that being said, what did I think just kind of going through this? And this is how I feel with a lot of things, and I already know how it's going to go, because the Jonathan Majors things, the Deshaun Watson thing, shoot, even the Johnny Depp thing, trials and things that we've seen before. I know how it go. I know how the people act. First of all, number one, it's about how you feel about the person. People want to fight so hard for something they have no real evidence about, mainly because they want the person, they don't want it to be true. Or they want it to be true, whatever the case is, depending if they like them or if they don't like them. And then the other thing is just relations. Like, if you don't really know Shannon Sharpe, but you're another black man, you see this, you be like, dang, rooting for you, black man. I get that. I totally get all that. But that's not how I approach these things, especially when we're talking about legal. Like, if you just talking about a messy situation where, you know, it's drama, hey, whatever, you know, that's different. But when we talking about legal, there's a structure to it, and so I'm gonna approach it that way, and that's just what it is, whether it makes you happy or not. All right, so when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, what are the signs that I look at, because it's pretty consistent. Number one, I want to see what the actual allegation is, because again, what you're going to see is a lot of other context trying to set up a pattern of behavior, which is very important, but a lot of times the pattern of behavior is not the actual allegation. Jonathan Majors, perfect example. The amount of people that till this day still be incorrectly quoting that situation kills me. Yes, they talked about recordings that he did. Yes, they talked about video from other things and blah blah. And again, the court of public opinion, and sometimes in the actual court, people want to turn it into, is this person this or is he that? That whole trial was about one incident. The one incident that night. All that other stuff, which again, understand, he was in a trial, a criminal trial from the state of New York, not from his ex-girlfriend. That was the state going against Jonathan Majors. But anyway, all that other evidence is just to build a pattern of behavior. So number one, we got to look at the actual allegation. So after going through all these things, because really the first thing I saw was the text. Everybody was talking about the text, of course. And so I go through and I say, okay, what is she claiming? She is claiming that, again, he sexually assaulted, he raped her. So there we go. So I'm like, okay, very serious, high allegation. Again, hard to prove. So let's see, because most of the time people are going to try to build, again, pattern of behavior, a character, so that they can say that this person is capable of this. And so I wanted to see kind of not only what she was using to build that pattern of behavior, but also how did this all happen? And so I mentioned the relationship. The start of it was she met him at a gym in LA that they both worked out. She claims that he pursued her, and then eventually they went out. She said she felt pressure, she gave in. That part doesn't really matter. Obviously, by the text and stuff, like, eventually they both was down for the, you know, to clown. So she was 19, he was whatever. Now, again, court of public opinion, a lot of people gonna feel some type of way about that. I'm not really big into that. That's a discussion I've had before, not really gonna get into it. But the age is whatever. Like, I wouldn't say whatever, but you know, the relationship matters a lot more than the age a lot of times. But either way, that's whatever. She was of age legally, so there we go. She was 19, blah blah. And then they eventually had their relationship. So I'm like, okay, so he met her, thought I did hear something about that he was saying that she had to get in shape to or win a competition. I don't know. Either way, I don't know. He was attracted enough to talk to her. That's all I know. So they did their thing, right? Okay. So from there, now that I know how it happened, so I'm like, okay, what happened to cause this incident? That's when she brought up the incident with the Michelle thing, blah blah. There is proof. Again, everybody sharing text. Shannon said he acknowledged that he said that I've already apologized to you about that. Like, stop playing childish games or something to that nature. So again, concrete evidence. that she's not making that up, that caused the fight between them. He tried to apologize, whatever. So that actually happened. And then she mentions that she started to pull away and everything. And there might be text and evidence that no, she was still contacting him. I don't know. We'll see. And then eventually, like, he came over, blah, blah, blah. So none of that sounds crazy. Like, if you follow the recent Drewski thing, when he got named in a lawsuit along with Diddy, and then they released, I don't know, they released his bank statements, but whatever, that didn't matter. They released his cell phone record to show that he was in Atlanta, or the Atlanta area at the time of the alleged thing that happened. And then that got dropped. Now, could your phone be with somebody else? Yes, but either way, they dropped him out of that lawsuit. But things like that are concrete evidence, right? And so, does she have any concrete evidence about him being there on the night she's talking about? Does she have concrete evidence of him assaulting her? Obviously not, because that would have been a wrap. And so there we go there. The other thing that then I look at is, what are they describing? Is it in line with what I know this person to be? Is it in line? Does it make sense? And the way, and lawyers are good, they could, make up a story that kind of fits the narrative about the person. But I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't think this is a narrative about Shannon. If you watch Shannon, and this is Shannon saying it himself, like, you could see it, but he also said it himself. Other people said it about him. He says he likes things his way. He does not like when things aren't in a certain order. He talked about with one of his interviews how he said all the shirts in his closet got to be a certain way. If something off, it bothers him. Sound like OCD, whatever. And again, we seen him go off on Nightcap. I've seen it in live person. Like, he want things to be his way. He'll go off if it's not. He got a temper. We've heard everybody say that. So then when she says things like she had to like only see him on his schedule, she had to do things like at a certain time in a certain way, believable. And again, we know that they had a relationship together. So obviously she could experience that. It doesn't mean that he did anything to her, but it is like, if you said, okay, I had a relationship with this person and for years or whatever, and you start describing that person and it just, some things are in direct conflict with what we know to be true. Now, people, on camera especially, they could give you one type of person and be a little bit different or totally different behind the scenes. But there's certain things, again, pattern of behavior that are consistent. So everything she was saying sounded consistent to me. So that leads to the point where she mentioned at one point that one of the times that she was threatened was when she showed up to his house. I don't know if it was unannounced or just not when he wanted her to. And she said he went off on her. And I don't remember exactly. I don't want to misquote it. Either he threatened her verbally or he put his hands on her and like put his hands around her neck or whatever. And so she mentions other times where this happens, where she was trying to share the location with her friends. And like, when she talked about how she didn't want to be with him, or she didn't want to do this, things like that, where she said these things happen. All this pattern of behavior lines up. So at this point, okay, I'm still open to what she has to say. Now, Shannon gives his side. They didn't give a lot. They gave these texts and everything. And to sit here and say the text don't change anything is not true. The text adds a lot of context. Again, pattern of behavior into rough sexual things. Very clearly was using him for money, but he was also very clearly trying to be in that type of relationship. Not to mention, again, if you know Shannon, that's all he talks about. That's one of the complaints I had about their relationship talk. He's always talking about transactions. Everything he talks about with women is transactions. And so we're not making this up. This is him saying it. But then also we have the actual text of both of them talking through transactions. Give me this, I'll do this. Oh, I'll buy you this, I'll do this. That's not him being tricked into that. That's not her being tricked into that. They both knew what it was. So to sit here and say, oh, she was setting him up for his money, bruh, he was giving money away. We know the trick culture. So, okay, so there's that. So they sent the text and stuff. It adds context, it adds doubt, it adds all those things. But as I said, the fundamental rule, it does not rule out that what she's saying is not true. Does it make it less likely for me? Yes, not a ton, but a little bit. I think of it in percentages. It keeps swinging one way or the other. And so, and then Shannon's side said that the video they have of him, I guess it's kind of a sex tape, I don't know, but they said that it was edited and that it's a short clip out of a much longer video that shows that it might look rough, but it was part of something that they both agreed to. Obviously, we're talking about some kinky, rough sex stuff. So that's their claim. Now, we get to a point where it's he said, she said. And this is stuff I hate because this stuff is so easy to prove. Her side said that in February, they said, hey, we got the evidence. Y'all welcome to come see it. They said Shannon said no, he doesn't want to see it. He wants his team to see it. His team saw it, and that they said that they wanted to see the full thing because it was just an edited version, and they believe it was like edited around and switched up. They claim they gave them an invitation to come to their office and watch the full unedited version. Shannon said no. They said Shannon wanted to just give the money and be done. I believe, I don't know if it's confirmed, but it is part of the court documents now that that it said, and I'm guessing because it's in the court, it might be true. I don't know. I gotta see it. But Shannon's side offered $10 million to settle and, be done with it. So they was like, Shannon just wanted to pay and be done. Shannon's side said none of that's true. That they are the ones that brought up money first, and that they never got an invitation to watch the full video. Stuff like that to me is just tough because it's so easy to prove. Now, if I'm a lawyer, on either side, you're not putting nothing in writing. We get that. Everything is in-person conversation or in between somebody because you don't want to have evidence. But the problem is it can help you and hurt you. And right now it's hurting both of them, because if y'all just put that crap in the email, then we wouldn't have to go back and forth about the he said, she said. So that to me is kind of a push. That doesn't sway me one way or the other, because both of y'all are doing some shady business in a sense, because you could have just put this in some type of writing, some type of phone call, but you chose not to. Okay, so now that doesn't help either one of you. So I don't know who to believe about that. All I know is it is confirmed that they were in mediation for a settlement since February. So Shannon and them knew this was coming. Now, one of the allegations, not even an allegation, this just is people talking. They believe that Shannon and them leaked the contract rumor because they knew this lawsuit was about to get filed. Does that make sense? Absolutely it does. Do I know it's true? No, I don't. But it makes 100% sense because you see exactly it's working. the common person that don't know nothing about law is quick to the internet. Oh, she saw the contract, so she sued. Bro, same thing they said with Deshaun Watson. Oh, he got the contract, so they sued. Like, or he about to get a contract, or blah blah blah. Actually, he already had his contract. Whatever. He's trying to get a trade, so they sued to ruin his career. Oh, actually, turns out it's hundreds of women he paid to give them massages. But still, this doesn't make Shannon guilty. But that's a tactic, because when you get to the lawsuit, like I said, or to the legal world, it's grimy. At the end of the day, I guess I can wrap up. I know for a fact everything she's saying as far as painting Shannon as one way and painting herself as innocent, or at least her side, that's not true. What Shannon is trying to do is paint himself as completely innocent and paint her as some random like money grab. I know that's not true either, because if there was a smoking gun, as they say, if there was dead set evidence one way or the other, this wouldn't even be happening. There would be no talks. It would be done. And so most of the time there is no smoking gun. It gets to this point because it's probably a lot of things that happen that we don't know about, because it only gets to this point when there's no hard evidence. Because if I know you got hard evidence against me, 9 times out of 10 as a logical person, I'm a cave and do what you want so this doesn't get out. And vice versa. If I know that I'm lying on you and you show you got hardcore evidence, I'ma stop, because I don't want to get countersued. And so what you do is you go on the defensive. So if you were innocent, you go on the defensive. If you were guilty, you go on the defensive. You come out, say this is not true. We plan to fight this. You countersue. You do all those things that they doing right now. So as it all stands with the evidence that we know right now, I won't say what percentage I'm at, but I will say I feel like I tend to feel all the time is that let's take this to discovery. Let's take it to court. Now, I will say the fact that Shannon and them tried to settle does tell me something. It doesn't mean you guilty, but it does tell me again, you don't have a smoking gun to defend yourself. And it also tells me that there's some stuff you don't want to get out there. And so how I feel is whenever somebody says I'm completely innocent, I didn't do nothing, like, or in the case of Jonathan Majors, his lawyer said that we got evidence so strong they gonna throw this case out. Obviously, we know that wasn't true. But I'm like, okay, if that's the truth, go to court. And that's what Jonathan Majors did. I fully felt like, oh, okay. Like, I felt like, okay, in that case, I was probably like 70% on Jonathan Majors' side before we started getting evidence, because I'm like, oh, they talking a big game. And then the courts was like, no, we're not throwing this out. The courts was like, nah, we're not throwing this out. We moving forward. Now, that's the state attorney. So the state wants to go forward, they're going to go forward. But at the same time, obviously, we end up seeing the evidence that Jonathan was not as innocent as he claimed. And so I feel that way now. Like, okay, Unc, you say you're completely innocent, 10 toes down. Take it to court. Let it get to discovery. Let us see the evidence. And I don't even really mean us. I mean the courts. Now, it's civil. It's not criminal. So a lot of this gonna get out if y'all do go to court. But hey, you say you innocent. Somebody claim you raped them. 10 toes down. Take it to court. Now, when you start folding and fumbling and trying, like, I'll say this. If they come to a settlement before it goes to court, I will 100% feel like Shannon, maybe not, I wouldn't say 100% like sexually assaulted her, but he definitely got physical and did some things with her. And because you trying to cover up something at that point. And people will say, oh, it's the money. Man, look, these dudes rich, but not only that, these lawyers with these high profile cases, they'll do what they got to do to be part of it. And so that's what I'll say with that. So if you 10 toes down, let it go to court. That's how I feel about both sides right now. And if it goes further, we will see. But as of right now, and I forgot to bring up the stuff at Fox. Now it comes from people that I don't trust and that I don't like, to be clear and transparent. But it does fall in line with some of the claims in this. Now, could they be piggybacking, or could that be true? We know how Unc talk. We know how Unc act. We know the Instagram thing happened. Blah, 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 blah. Look, none of that has to be questioned. Unc already told you it's true. We did some freaky stuff. He was out here. So that part is not the claim. The claim is, did he assault her? And that's what we got to see going forward. So I just wanted to break that down because I already know how these things go. Like I said, been through it a number of times. And I know how silly the arguments are. And I know how people are quick to go one way or the other. And, you know, that's just kind of the 0 to 100 world we in. But that's my thoughts. Go to the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up. Subscribe. We'll follow this as it continues. And thank you for going out of bounds.